Looks like we have Brandon up top and Zachary on the bottom. Yes, I've been wanting to see this. Gruel Delirium, statistically, we have our stat sheets from our last couple RCs from US, Japan, Brazil, some of those. And Gruel Delirium is at the top with a 23-14 record at 62.2% win rate. So, hey, this deck looks like the real deal, Jim. Walk us through what's going on with Gruel Delirium.
It's interesting where, it's small sample size, obviously.
Yeah.
This is a deck that is honestly also kind of A plus B in the sense where, like, it is trying to set a lot of things up. When it does the thing, it slaps. This deck can kill on turn 3.
What?
Yeah, with good mills off a Beastie. There's a double strike card. That's not these.
Violent Urge or something it's called, right?
Violent Urge alongside these hasty creatures. But needs to have some lucky mills there, too.
Yeah.
It has seemed to sport a pretty good matchup against Izzet, against small sample size as well.
Yeah.
But very powerful aggro deck. Kind of, a little off the beaten path when it comes to the other aggro decks in the format. Plays some 3-drops, so it isn't as bad against Lockdown, has some disenchant effects, and then has these 4 main deck Keen-Eyed Curators, which are exceptionally good against Omniscience as well.
So I love this style of deck. Just good old play some creatures. This has a lot of pump spells, which we don't see a lot of, but this is just a good Gruel mid-range style beatdown deck. And similar to like what we saw from Harlan Fuhr with the Boros deck from yesterday, we don't see a lot of these decks in Standard because, well, Esper Pixie, Orzhov Pixie is so good at dealing with creatures. There's such good removal, cut down, all these things that you can trade up. But hey, those aren't that popular. And if Izzet Prowess is the more popular deck where its only piece of removal is Burst Lightning and Unsummons, all of a sudden your 1-mana 3/3 looks pretty dang good.
Yeah, absolutely. This is exactly the kind of deck that can kind of come out of the woodworks because of the metagame shifts, because of Pixie and Nowhere to Run. Nowhere to Run's a card that pushed a lot of cards out of the format.
Yeah.
Let's Sunslayer. Phenomenal 3-drop. It's just too bad to Nowhere to Run.
Snakeskin Veil.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Exactly. So almost extinct. But format shift. I mean, I would see a deck here with all these kind of 3/3 creatures and also Overprotect.
Yeah.
Which is Snakeskin Veil, the hexproof effect. So this deck can slam in, but it has to make the land drops. It has to find a Delirium. It has a bit of setup work to do.
All right, it's a Seed of Hope deck that actually hits. So I love that. Fear of Missing Out and Carplusion Forest.
So one of the fun things here with this deck, though, is I played this deck on stream a few days before the tournament.
Yeah.
There's times where you can just leave both cards in the graveyard. You don't have to take a card.
Yeah.
So we see here, bin both cards, and then I guess you have to take the land. But
you take the land.
But if in a scenario where you didn't need to, you can Delirium just off the Seeds of Hope like that. So
yep. So here is Delirium. Delirium's important for not only the FOMO, the Fear of Missing Out, but as well as this 1-mana 3/3. 1-mana 3/3 is an incredible stat line. Of course, you got to work to get it, but hey, I mean, that was one of the best uncommons in that set as well for limited. But the flip side, Brandon does have a very nice start of just a slick shot show-off that didn't die. Was able to bounce some stuff to tempo out a little bit, and now all of a sudden you have a large attack coming down here. And it looks like, I want to say Brandon had a bit of a pump fake here where he wanted to play the Storm Chaser's talent. Maybe took it back, said, I'll slide a hand first. And this might be the classic case of a judge here. Hey, is that okay to do? It's always fine to double check. Doesn't seem like anything has changed.
Now, one important thing about this Gruel Delirium deck is that it is removal light.
Yes.
There's 1 Witchsucker's Frenzy, 3 Bushwhacks as the only kill spells, and that is a thing that lines up well against the newer versions of Izzet that are playing Draycatcher, because you can kind of like block that, kind of get around it, whatever.
Yeah.
Slickshot Show-Off is a card that kind of needs to die.
It needs to.
It can kill you extremely fast. So an uncontested show-off here is very, very threatening.
God, that card's such a show-off.
Always showing off.
Always showing off. It's like, oh, check out this cool kickflip I can do. You're dead. All right, so that should be 8 damage, right?
We got the Sleight of Hand and the Corey. It's 5. Yep, I count 8 too.
And huge mistake there from Brandon, not playing Corey Steelcutter first. All right, just kidding. It was probably Sleight of Handed into. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to do such a thing. Or you needed land 3. Plenty of those kind of things. Getting a Surveil. So here's the question. After you already get Delirium, do you still just always surveil a card to your yard? Or do you go with vibes and like, you know what, this turn I'm not gonna, and then you draw land?
I think it's very open deck with space. You know,
okay.
if you're feeling it, but maybe this turn I feel like it might be a land on top. I'm gonna mill that one, but yeah.
So we did mill another powerful card into the yard. The old 2-mana 4/3, the Wildfire Wicker Folk.
I think you want to keep going here fairly often for.
Okay, exiling some cards here. Looks like we're trying to... I was like, dang, that thing has flashback? What did I miss?
Right.
So, looks like we are trying to get this going. So the nice thing that Zachary can do is you can maintain Delirium right now. You can attack, and then after the 3/3 is already attacked, you can eat your own land. I guess you can eat your own land anyways. You don't have to sequence it that way. But one thing we could do, you know.
We're already locked up here. We have artifact, creature, sorcery, and instant. So
forget what I just said.
Curator doesn't actually have the word Delirium on it.
Yeah.
But kind of does, where if you exiled 4 more types, it becomes a 7/7 trample, which is a house.
That is a house. Didn't want to attack with the Patchwork Beastie, though.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense in the face of Cutter. So you have blocker for Cutter and a blocker for Swift Spear. The problem is that this Slick Shot show-off is clear for takeoff.
Yeah, this Slick Shot is just like, you know what? Hold my bird beverage. I got this. I am just going to solo this game. Hey, birds need beverages too.
Drink up.
Okay. Torch the tower. Pump fake. This is a torch for just 2. You could bargain away, I guess. Yeah, you don't get the token first, so you can't do it in that kind of order. So no, you can bargain away your own Corey Steelcutter, I guess, right? But so 5 damage from that, 6, 7, 8.
Oh yeah, that was almost an oopsie block there. So of course there is damage on the Beastie and the trample of the Steelcutter.
It's a monstrous rage. Nothing matters.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. So yeah, just cast that. And the Slick Shot's lethal alone, right? That's so much. So you know, if that had been a Drake Catcher this game, I think it's a different game.
Yes.
You know, and that goes to show in the evolution. You know, and it's kind of funny when like a deck evolves and then evolves and then evolves and then evolves, and it comes full circle where everyone starts building around your new evolution, and then the first version ends up being good again. Yeah. You know, so it goes full circle.
Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff here from Brandon. Yeah, you know, like you're saying, the Drake Catchers, great cards. We've seen them do some good work, and I'm sure they're doing plenty of work as we speak out in this match, and is it mirrors, but man, when you slow your deck down so much, you open the door for decks like Gruul Delirium to come back in. And that's the thing about Standard in general, why I love the format, and why I think you and I, especially as streamers, content creators, hate the ban narrative. Hate it. Cannot stand it. We can all just play cards that haven't seen play in a while to attack the metagame in a different avenue. You can do all these things to attack, the most played deck, the popular deck, and go from that instead of, this deck's the best, we need to ban it. Because, here is a spoiler, and I know this is, going to be tough to hear for everyone. Jim, there's always going to be a best deck.
That is true, yeah. The burden of proof is on the players where you got to give it some time.
Yeah.
You got to give players time to cook, If we go through a month and it's still, crushing everything, and hey, we had a month, players tried for a month in major events to beat it and couldn't, okay.
Breach, in a nutshell, We
can have a discussion then.
Yeah.
But give players a chance,
Yeah. Breach in a nutshell, it had a good win percentage, and then we were like, okay, maybe we need to respect it a little more. People respected it. 14-card sideboards. The win rate kept climbing. That's a problem,
right.
Is it 50% win rate, 52%? Decks are coming up to answer it. We are definitely not at that category with anything in the Corey Steelcutter or Is It Prowess thing. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I think the Magic players stop being lazy.
Yeah.
Is it, easy, good deck to pick up as far as it's straightforward. Plays a lot of play to it. I think it's a pretty easy deck to play up to 80%.
Yeah.
But that last 20% is a ton of skill you can really maximize.
Yeah.
But, that first 80%, if you play spells, you attack, you do your thing. So easy to pick up in that regard. But, you can also just, the biggest thing I got from yesterday was the player who's a good player, I'm not going to name them, but multiple players that I talked to me yesterday were like, I played Izzet, the mirror sucks, I hated playing the mirror. It's like, well, you signed up for that.
Yeah.
You decided to play Izzet. You knew it was the most played deck. You're playing at least 3 or 4 mirrors. What did you think was going to happen today? So you made your bed. Now you got to sleep in it.
I want you to name drop that person to me after the show. I need to hear.
It's multiple.
Okay. So, Jim, I'm having another problem. Before we talk about sideboarding here, we've been talking about Modern, or maybe just I've been talking about Modern so much. I really want to find an event that I can play some Modern at. Even if they took away Breach, I just want to see how that metagame is adjusted. And you know what? I also have some aspirations to make it to the Pro Tour, but I don't want to go through the RC process of qualifying for this event. I only have time to play just one event. Is there any kind of event that could just send me to the Pro Tour, straight away with a top 8 or something?
Unfortunately, Corey, not you.
Oh.
You're going to be in the booth.
Oh, okay. What about someone else, though?
Everyone else watching, absolutely. We got Spotlight Series Indy coming up, and Indianapolis is going to be an open tournament event where you walk in the door, you pay an entry fee, and if you make top 8, you're going to the Pro Tour. Fantastic prizes as well. And, of course, it's the Spotlight Series for the Secret Lair, or there's a special prize where the winner gets to design their own secret lair. Now,
what?
With help from Wizards, of course. Secret Lair, my son's 2-year-old art projects might not make it through production.
I don't know. Your son's pretty talented. Yeah.
A lot of art hanging on that.
A lot of art.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, so really, really cool. Check us out May 30th to the 1st in Indianapolis. Beautiful city as well. I love Indy.
Me too.
All info at starcitygames.com/SCGCon.
Man, I'm never going to get to the Pro Tour, am I?
It's tough.
Yeah.
They lock us in this booth. They say, you guys can't get back on the Pro Tour. You're not allowed. You got to talk about Magic. And, it's not a bad gig.
I think the ankle shackles were a little much to lock us in here, but you know what? Whatever. I don't make the rules when it comes to that. So
they thankfully loosened up the chains a little bit.
Thank God.
I'm a little more comfortable.
I'm no longer bleeding here by my ankles. So thank you, everyone. That's not true. We swear. But
rattle.
yeah. The only thing I picture is if I, won that event, it's just me at a long table with 4 Wizards members at the other side, comically long, right? And I'm just pitching the most outrageous things, and every time they're just like, Corey, no, dude, you can help out with a couple of cards here and there and be like, all right, but hear me out. Every card, has my face on it.
Secret Lair, my favorite T-shirts.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we are underway. We got the 1-mana 3/3. The Paw Patch Beastie coming down, going to start surveilling. Sleight of hand off the Painland, though. We were kind of talking, last round how the Shivan Reef up against Chris Patello's blue-white control deck doesn't really matter. It matters against Gruul.
Yeah, the big thing about this Gruul deck, I think, is that it is short another good 1-drop. Patrick Beastie is phenomenal. There isn't really another good 1 in the deck. Casting Seeds of Hope to set up is kind of fine. There are a lot of 2s. The games you have on Patrick Beastie are phenomenal. Yeah. And the games where you hit a 2-typed card off your first mill are also phenomenal. So there's a lot of load-bearing weight on Patrick Beastie in this deck. Yeah. And the games that has a turn 1, especially on the play, are going to be in phenomenal shape.
Yep. Great stuff. So there is a Spire Bluff Canal. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that was either found off Sleight of Hand or was top-decked. And we have the Storm Chaser's Talent bringing in a little Otter friend. I'm surprised those tokens are that far away, Otters have been this is pretty much an Otter-themed feature match area this weekend. I feel like they should be at every corner.
We've seen a lot of Otters.
So many Otters. They're so cute. But they're causing so much chaos this weekend.
That one's in color.
Yeah, that one's nice. All right, so there is another 2-typer, but we already had one of the types, so we have 3 types towards Delirium. If we can get one more thing going, something like a Bushwhack or something would be great. Seeds of Hope.
That'll do it by itself.
Yep. All right, does hit. You get another 1-mana 3/3. You hit the land. You hit the sorcery, or that's an instant, right? Seed of Hope is an instant. Mm-hmm. Impressive stuff at how fast this deck can gather Delirium.
Yeah, when this deck goes, it goes. And
yeah,
it's kind of interesting how the curator is it's kind of like this weird, somewhat anti-synergy where You have to exile the cards to give it its Delirium. But the base value of just being a 3/3 for 2 with great applications in certain matchups is phenomenal.
How about attacking for 10 on turn 3? Is that good?
I told you, I can kill fast.
Cruel Smash! Man, what do you think Zachary does with all his other 40 minutes every single round?
Get a nice lunch, get some snackies, maybe bring like a coloring book.
Yeah.
He's preparing for his secret lair win.
Yeah.
So you gotta get the coloring book going, and when you win, you just, Watsy, I already got you covered. Here's my secret lair designs.
Long table, whips it down, smack. There
Get
you
a
go.
load of this.
And be like, we've never went back on a prize, Corey, but we really want to with you right now. What is this otter going to do?
So this is where the sizing is so important. If any of these creatures had 2 toughness, we could see an otter block, or fantasy monsters. We could have seen Into the Flood Maw, bounce one thing, trade the other one. But now it's to use the old defensive Monstrous Rage.
Ugh, vomit.
Yeah, which looks a little ugly.
I mean, it's still a 2-for-1 in favor of Zachary here just for having an overstated creature. Overstated creatures, 2 mana 3/3s, 1 mana 3/3s, when you face them into, some of the format's more popular removals, or maybe formats not so popular removals anymore, nowhere to run, stuff like that, it looks really bad. But, when you're trying to tempo out your opponent who's playing overstated creatures really quickly, it ends up just looking really, really strong here. I'm curious how well or what Zachary's percentage is against the Izzet deck. 7-3, not amazing by any means. These players do have to win out if they have any hope of top 8ing, but still an impressive record. I'd be curious how well he did against Izzet.
Now, again, small sample size from the RCs over the last few weeks, but
not including this one, right?
Not including this one, yes.
Okay.
It's 6-2 against Prowess is the Cruel Delirium deck on average.
Well, Zachary broke it. Ban Patchwork Beastie. Just kidding, chats. I'm kidding. I'm trying to put out the fires and then fuel them at the same time. Is that good?
Yes, that is content, Corey.
Okay.
You are doing it. You are doing the thing.
Sweet. Taking a look at Breakout. Maybe we can do the same.
Breakout is an awesome card.
Yeah, Breakout is sweet.
Really, really cool design. It's kind of like an impulse plus just put the creature in play. The cool thing about this card is that it is a threat that is also a spell. It's a type for Delirium. It's a spell for Prowess, too. It's played in some Prowess decks as well. Just a really, really fun card.
Think it's having its breakout weekend?
But we got a drum set.
Yeah, I think we should get one.
Yeah,
I think we should get one. Be like all the competitors. I'll be like, yeah, the event was great, except all these hi-hat symbols, that were.
Or maybe a soundboard.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair. You're too good at it at your own channel. We don't want to try to compete with you. We've given up. Snakeskin Veil from the top ropes. How can you ever financially recover from that?
Snakeskin Veil is almost always a blowout.
I mean, honestly, even if that got bounced, it's still a hasty threat. Like, it wouldn't even been that bad, but...
Yeah, the removal suite in Izzet is not ready for this. There is a bit of splash damage where the Izzet decks are leaning a little more towards Torch the Tower over Burst Lightning to try and kill Draycatcher. That could kill some things here maybe, but, we're just seeing stomp here. Just some big idiots. Get them in the red zone, just do the thing.
Even Torch the Tower, there are some 2 toughness things, but for the most part, this is 3 toughness galore here from this Gruul deck. There's the old Haywire Mike coming down. Can eat up a Corey Steelcutter if you need, or a Talent if you're about to activate level 4. But right now, Brandon's at 2. I think we're heading to game 3.
Yeah, this was a extremely impressive draw. Again, a lot predicated on the Beastie. If it had been turn 1 tap land or turn 1 Bushwhack for a land, then turn to 3/3 or whatever else, that 1 drop really pushes things along. And one of the problems with that is, having played the deck, is that when you don't draw the 1 drop, turn 3 is really awkward, where you have another 2 drop, but no additional 1 drop to play or double spell to play. So Beast is really, really important and gets the job done.
So how pronounced is the play draw when it comes to this matchup? It seems like Gruul Delirium especially is very dependent on the play.
one of the things, if you want to answer that question yourself for any matchup, is just look at the deck's removal. How is this deck capable of breaking a serve, of kind of taking it so it's hey, oh, you played that thing, but I can kill it and kind of get back in over here. Not a lot of removal in this Gruul deck. We see in the board for Frenzy, really not much. Honestly.
Yeah, not much.
To the point where Pyroclasm is kind of interesting, where it's a card that can mop up some tokens, and most of your things live through it. But for the most part, breaking serve is going to be just playing some idiots and mushing in. So play draw therefore becomes really, really important.
What about from Brandon? What are you bringing in here up against Gruul?
So that Flood Maul looks pretty good. You got to deal with these larger creatures. Rebel Salvo. It's not a great exchange. Salvo is a, kind of like there's a bunch of these 3 mana deal 5s in the format. Occasionally it costs 2 because of an equipment in play, but usually they're killing Shieldred, Preacher, cards that you either trade even or up on mana on. It's got to come in here, I think, to kill these larger creatures, but it's going to trade down.
Okay.
It's going to kill a 1-drop or a 2-drop, so that's not a great exchange for Brandon, but probably needs to come in. Torch Tower plays here. You can sacrifice a token, you can sacrifice a Sword Piercer's Talent to kill one of those 3 toughest strings. But yeah, bringing the removal spells, I think Brandon still wants to be aggressive because, again, being on the play is very, very important, and Zach kind of lacks the comeback mechanics, but play draw very, very important.
So, Jim, I need help with another problem, okay? So, my first Grand Prix top 8 I ever had, one of my proudest moments, it kind of, started my career, was in Miami, okay? So, I had the greatest time. I made the finals of a Grand Prix. It was super sick. I also really, really love Florida. It's just a place I really want to visit again. And a side note, big fan of space. Is there anything coming up that, I can look forward to?
Wow, Corey, that was a very specific set of circumstances.
Dude, I love space.
I like going to Florida. I like space. I won a tournament once. Well, lucky for you, a confluence of all of these things has come together in Orlando in late August.
Wow.
Spotlight Series Planetary Rotation. And aside from all the things you mentioned about things that you just happen to like randomly,
yeah,
this is going to be a really exciting tournament because it is rotation. So we're going to be seeing Edge of Eternities coming out, the big standard rotation, and this is an open event. This is a Spotlight Series event. You bring your deck, you show up and you play, no qualification necessary, and then top 8 players are going to the Pro Tour. So StarCityGames.com/SGCon, August 29th to the 31st. Hope to see you there.
Awesome. Far out, man. That looked sick. That looks absolutely sick.
And I'm so happy, Corey, that you have an event to go to that just melds with all of the things that you like.
God, that is really good. SCG really has something for everyone, huh?
They got the finger on the pulse.
Man, they got it going on.
Speaking of the finger on the pulse here, turn 1 Beastie again. Clutch.
I mean, if you're 7-1, you're crushing it at this tournament. That's your, only 1-drop, right? Like, that's the thing is you don't really want to play a lot of Llanowars. You have a lot of 2s. 1 to 3 is, of course, awesome in these kind of decks, but you really just need beefy creatures here. So I like not playing Llanowar in this Gruul deck, which feels kind of wrong, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. I feel that too.
Yeah.
But this is the ideal scenario for Zachary where Brandon's turn 1 play was a cantrip. And I feel like you always pump the fist. When Izzet goes turn 1 land, cantrip.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God, not a creature.
Yeah.
Because all these cantrips are meant to be played after the creatures are already in play. When they're played as setup, it can buy your opponent a lot of time.
I'm greedy. I really hope my Izzet opponents just don't play land 1. Then I fist pump, like anything else. I'm just like, wow, so lucky. Had a land and a 1-drop.
Has that happened often?
No.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Just checking.
I don't win often. Zachary plays a mountain, and I gotta say, those are my favorite lands. I love them. Zachary's got some fantastic taste. Big shout out to John Avon. I love his lands so much.
Not a fan of play.
Don't even trash those lands if you're about to,
right,
Jim.
I'm gonna step out of myself.
Excellent. Thank you.
The art is great. They're very nice.
Yeah, because nice. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, but if they're just so wrong, I just don't know how to handle it, Jim.
they're nice.
Okay, there we go.
The art is nice. I wouldn't play them personally myself.
Oh my God.
But they are nice.
Fair enough. We'll let it slide. Corey Steelcutter into an opt, gets a 2/2. That's going to be very sad in the face of these, 2 creatures that are larger. You know, we cannot block with Patchwork Beastie, but the fear of missing out will be plenty fine getting in the way here. So going to be just a pass here from Brandon, and this is going to be one of those turns. If we can get Delirium, I don't think I can count that high, Jim.
Yeah, there's a wide range of outcomes for next turn. It could be an attack for 2 or an attack for 10, and that attack for 10s with no help. If we see something like a Violent Urge...
Isn't it 8 with no help?
You're right, 8. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because FOMO can't attack twice. I was getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, you throw in a Monstrous Rage, Overprotect, a Violent Urge here. This is where those turn 3 kills can come in.
Yeah.
Where, you know, if it's mill over the Carver Delirium, Overprotect, Violent Urge, Double Strike, that's 6, Double Strike, 12, 24 damage on the double attack, 26 damage total.
Yeah.
So, didn't happen here, but still a phenomenal Delirium off the Seed of Hope.
Yeah, so Found Delirium still could, Violent Urge... And what it would be 8, 9, 10, double strike. Yeah, I mean, it still would pretty much get it done, right?
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot.
But I think also this more modest play of just kill your cutter,
18,
get Delirium, get him for a bunch is also fantastic.
Yeah, it would have been 18, I guess, if my math was right there, if you just had the double strike. But, God, that's incredible. But instead, Haywire might deal with the card that's getting Brandon ahead, and now you look, what would Brandon's best play be? Probably removal, right? But that's just not in the cards for these Izzet decks. God would just pray for a lightning bolt, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Man. Then this deck would probably be a problem.
No question.
No question about it.
Yeah, and this is the problem with the Izzet deck where, you know, it's great, doesn't play great from behind.
Yeah.
There aren't really many catch-up mechanics. And Zach's at 24 life, 2 life off Seeds of Hope, 2 life off Haywire Might. So Brandon can't defend super well and ain't killing Zach anytime soon. That is a recipe for success for our Delirium player.
How does Land Go help out Brandon's chances?
I'm trying to think of a combination of cards that aren't even in the deck.
You know, like, God, if you had some removal, like Lightning Strikes, if you play those, but they just do not work well with Corey Steelcutter whatsoever. So as great as that powerful artifact is, the cost is real with the deck constraint. It's not like a companion where, you know, Luris, you can't play higher than 2 drops, but it kind of is. It kind of has that hidden companion mode for a big deck restriction here because you just got to play cheap stuff.
Yeah, and the Prowsy decks already have those restrictions where, like, you need to find the right mix of spells and threats, and that adds another wrinkle to it as well.
Totally agree. So Breakout coming down.
Woo!
And we have officially broken out. If those 2 creatures were already tough to deal with, how about 2 more creatures that are coming in right now? How does that feel?
4/3 Trample Haste.
So let's see. The total amount of damage, we have 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 if we wanted to max out.
Yeah, the fact that the FOMO was allowed to attack here, I mean, I guess we could see a bounce on the thing it targets.
Yeah, the hasty threat, go on.
Right, yeah. So, but again, into the Flood Maw, which is the primary defensive feature of the Izzet decks, and is admittedly excellent in a lot of spots. Against Oculus, against Lockdown. Not so good here. You know, bouncing these 1 and 2 drops that often have haste is just, you know, it's a winning line if you're able to turn the corner and win the following turn. But defensively, like this, pretty ugly.
This better be a historically powerful monk here, as this has to do some serious work. I mean, anything less of removing 1 or 2 creatures from the board while a monk eats a threat is not good enough, I feel.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 1 monk trading and 1 creature dying is okay, manageable, but I think for Brandon to have a good chance at this game, that's what you need. And I think Brandon really needed that Corey Steelcutter to go main phase, 2 spells, get a monk, your turn. During Zachary's turn, 2 spells, get another monk. That would have been something that's incredibly impressive that the Izzet deck can do that we don't see often.
Yeah, being able to double utilize the Seal Cutter where you're using both turn cycles, because you're only allowed 1 flurry available per turn. So breaking the symmetry on that, having a flurry on their turn and on your turn is very powerful and kind of a way to get back in here. So still a lot of work for Brandon to do, though.
Yeah, totally agree. So 1 creature is dealt with. This is a 3/3 coming to Munch. You just eat FOMO, right? Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that Brandon would have that many more spells in hand, because I would think FOMO would have died to a removal spell earlier. It's like...
I mean, just what removal spell kills it, though? That's the thing. I bet he has a torch.
Oh, defensive Monstrous Rage. If you want Monstrous Rage to look bad, either you need to play a bajillion removal spells, like we were saying earlier, or force your opponent to use it defensively.
What, wasn't that not needed, though? Wasn't it already a 3/3?
Once sack the roll.
Get
that token going, that's a creative little play there from Brandon. So, not that it happens very often, but the roll is a token. It is sacrificable to bargain.
Ooh, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Brandon. Okay, that was the turn we needed. That was exactly it, and it only cost everything.
I mean, that being said, that wasn't a bounce spell, right? We got Brandon and I got to kill things there.
Got to kill two things, and the creature ate something. That was exactly what Brandon needed, and that was truly impressive. And wow, look at this. Now Corey Steelcutter into a talent looking like Hellbent, but who cares? That was impressive. An Otter and a Monk are coming back, and now all of a sudden Zachary needs something big. That was super impressive from Brandon.
Yeah. Two important things here. One is that Brandon is out of cards, but has a talent in play, has 5 mana to rebuy a spell next turn, has this good board going. 8 life is a lot of life here. Not a lot of damage cutting through. And then Zach's down to 2 cards. There might not be that many more threats coming. Wow. And Brandon's just coming in.
How risky is this? Because I'm looking at the deck. There's a lot of haste threats. There's Screaming Nemesis, Tersa Light Shatter, the Wicker Folk. Like, this might have been a little too aggressive.
Now, to be fair, the Wicker Folk has Trample, so the one blockers aren't that good against it.
Sure.
There's Rages and stuff, too. Overprotect also gives Trample. So, oh my god.
And, there's no cards in hand, so attack for 8. That should be Zachary just cleanly taking it down, and that's the game. Zachary Augustine takes it down with Cruel Delirium.